Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are taking on a fascinating dual role, the architect and the defender. You see, when it comes to modern information systems, you really can't just build a digital structure and hope for the best. First, as the architect, you've got to design and build a system that perfectly meets human needs. Then, you have to instantly flip the switch and become the defender, locking down that very same system against a constant, evolving barrage of 21st century threats. It's this complete continuous life cycle of creation and protection, and today we're going to walk through exactly how it's done. All right, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for the Explainer. Number 1, gathering system requirements. 2, visualizing the data flow. 3, the CIA security triad. 4, anatomy of a computer virus. And finally, number 5, passwords and data encryption. So we're laying the blueprint and then we're building the fortress. Starting with Section 1, gathering system requirements. Let's go ahead and put on our architect hat first. Before a single line of code is written or a single server is bought, we have to gather intelligence. We need to figure out what the organization actually requires. And this brings us to what is arguably the most important and honestly the most difficult task of any systems analyst, developing the System Requirements Specification, or SRS. You can think of the SRS as the ultimate foundation. It's a highly precise, completely jargon-free document that captures the operational, tactical, and strategic needs of the system. Why is this so absolutely crucial? Well, because getting it right eliminates those nasty disputes between users and analysts later down the line. It basically ensures that everyone is building the exact same house. But how do we actually build that SRS? We gather human intelligence. It's a super interactive process. We're interviewing everyone, from top-level management all the way to the operational staff on the floor. And here's a pro tip from the field. It's literally never possible to get all the information you need in just a single interview. It takes group discussions, digging through dense procedure manuals, and get this, sometimes literally standing in the workplace with a clipboard just observing the workflow. Yes, sometimes the most advanced tech job involves just standing in a room watching people work. That is how we uncover the real, on-the-ground requirements. Moving on to Section 2, visualizing the data flow. Once we have all that amazing human intelligence, we have to translate it into a technical blueprint that everyone can easily understand. And that is exactly where data flow diagrams come in. A data flow diagram is made up of a few key components. First up, we have entities. Entities are the physical originators and the consumers of the data. You can think of them as the actual people, the departments, or the external partners interacting with your system. So someone like a vendor delivering goods, a receiving office, or a purchase office. Next, we have our data flows. If those entities we just talked about are the towns on a map, data flows are the highways connecting them. They represent the actual movement of information. For instance, say a vendor sends a delivery note to the receiving office. That document, moving from point A to point B, that is your data flow. Finally, we visualize the action using specific shapes. Circles depict a process. This is where the actual processing rules happen. For example, a circle might represent the rule to compare the order number in the delivery note with the one in the order file. Meanwhile, a pair of parallel lines depicts a data store. That's where process data is kept or referred back to. Putting all of this together gives us a comprehensive, highly visual blueprint of our entire information system. All right, Section 3, the CIA security triad. Imagine our system is now built and fully operational. It's time to change hats. We are no longer just architects. We are defenders. In the 21st century, information is saved on easily accessible media, which means protecting it is absolutely critical to business survival. And this brilliantly illustrates the core of almost every single security program in existence, the CIA triad. And no, we're not talking about the intelligence agency. We mean confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It's this perfect triangular relationship where each side is directly related to the other two. Let's break down these 3 pillars of defense. Confidentiality just means access is strictly confined to those with explicit authority. Integrity is all about safeguarding the accuracy and completeness of the data, basically making sure nobody has tampered with it. And availability ensures that your authorized users can actually get to the information when they need it. It's like a 3-legged stool. If an information system fails on even one of these 3 fronts, the entire fortress is compromised. Section 4, anatomy of a computer virus. Because the threats to that fortress, they are relentless. Our systems are constantly under attack by malicious code designed to destroy, steal, or disrupt. To properly defend our system, we really need to understand the taxonomy of these digital threats. Broadly speaking, there are 6 recognized categories of computer viruses. You've got boot sector viruses that implant themselves right in your hard drive startup area, which stops your computer from even booting up. File viruses infect your executable applications. Multipartite viruses, they double down and infect both the files and the boot sector. Polymorphic viruses are particularly nasty because they actually change their own code as they move between machines to evade detection. And stealth viruses actively try to hide from your antivirus software. But so, the crucial point is this. Macroviruses account for about 75% of the viruses found in the wild. They're written using simplified macro languages and target everyday Microsoft Office applications like Word and Excel. They usually modify a super common command, like just hitting save, to trigger their payload. Now, aside from viruses, we also battle worms and Trojan horses, and they operate very differently. A worm is designed to self-replicate. It spreads automatically through network connections, often draining computer memory and resources just by the sheer volume of its replication. A Trojan horse, on the other hand, comes disguised as something useful or desirable. But there is a massive, incredibly ironic difference here. A Trojan horse literally cannot replicate itself. It is entirely reliant on human curiosity or, let's just be honest, gullibility. The only way it spreads is if someone actively opens the gates by clicking a sketchy attachment or downloading a bad file. Which leads us to Section 5, passwords and data encryption. Knowing all these threats exist, how do we actually lock the doors? Let's take a look at our final frontline defenses. Passwords obviously play a significant role here, but they're often our weakest link purely because of human behavior. Let me ask you, and be completely honest, do you use similar passwords across different systems? Yeah, most of us do. In an organization with multiple servers, users often do exactly this just to avoid forgetting them all. But this greatly increases the security risk. If one system is breached, well, they're all breached. To mitigate this, smart organizations rely on access control packages that manage passwords, logs, and encryption collectively, stopping users from relying on one single fragile password. But think about this. What happens if a hacker actually gets past the password? How do we ensure they still get absolutely nothing of value? This is where data encryption swoops in to save the day. But how exactly does it work? Now, what's really interesting about this is that to understand modern encryption, we can look at one of the oldest techniques in history, the Caesar cipher. In step 1, you take a plain text, readable message. Let's use the phrase, "Parliament is in session." In step 2, you apply your encryption algorithm. For a Caesar cipher, you might replace each letter with one that sits a certain number of positions down the alphabet. And in step 3, your output is ciphertext. To anyone looking at the system without the secret key, the data just looks like null and void nonsense. It is a brilliant, timeless way to protect information right at its core. So, we've built the system from the ground up through careful intelligence gathering and data flow visualization. We've established the CIA triad to defend it, and we've analyzed the viruses, worms, and Trojans that are actively trying to tear it down. But remember how a Trojan horse spreads? It requires a human to open the gates. Which leaves us with one final critical thought to chew on today. Are you the weak link in your own information security fortress? Because at the end of the day, even the most perfectly architected system requires vigilant, educated human defenders. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and stay secure out there.